Okay, guys, go ahead and try the warm-up. Make sure you put me on pause, and then go ahead and have me tell you what the answer comes out to. It says, which represents the intersection of sets A, B, and C shown in the diagram? I think it just cut off at the bottom, but we can do this without that. If they use the word intersection, you're doing A, intersect, which is this symbol, B, intersect C. So make sure you know these symbols as well. The intersection of all of them is where the circles, what numbers actually appear in all three sets, circles, which are A, B, and C. So the intersection would be only element number 2. So that would be the answer for the intersection. Don't forget, union would be a U. That's where you pick all of them. So that would be another way they could ask that question. Whoops. All right, starting 8.5. Method. Take out the GCF, greatest common factor, if it has one. If it doesn't, then move on. Look to see if it's difference of perfect squares. Difference of perfect squares would look something like this. Let's see, x squared minus 25. This is a perfect square, this is a perfect square, and it's difference of perfect squares. So that would equal x times x, and the square root of 25 would be 5 and 5. And because the outers and inners in FOIL will cancel, you would need one of each sign. Doesn't matter where you put it. So this is difference of perfect squares because you're subtracting difference to perfect squares. Okay? Some things will be difference of perfect squares, some things will not. Go ahead to the next step, which means factor. Don't forget, you've got to factor it completely. So there might be double factoring, which we'll see as we go down the road on these. All right, so I actually simplified the book up a little bit. It may not look it on this screen, but go ahead, put me on pause at this point, copy this all down. Most of it will not make sense, some of it will. Not until I actually get to an example will it make more sense. So put me on pause because I'm going to keep going on to the next screen and copy it down and then resume. Okay? All right, let's look at an example. This is a little bit blurry, but it says x squared plus 7x plus 12. If the leading coefficient is a 1, which it is, then this will be easier to factor. If the leading coefficient is not a 1, which we'll see as we get into harder questions, then this is a little bit harder. But as long as the leading coefficient is 1, all of the procedure that you guys just wrote down, that long procedure, works really well with it. So there is no GCF, and it's not difference of perfect squares because it would have to be a binomial, and this is a trinomial. So let's go ahead and open up a double set of parentheses. This is what we call factoring. Okay, don't forget, factoring is the opposite of FOIL. What times what gives me the first term? X. Okay, follow along the method you just wrote down. Go to the last term. It's a positive. So what times what is a positive? Same signs or different signs? Well, in order for me to get a positive, you would need same signs. You would either need a plus times a plus or a negative times a negative. Okay? The middle term is going to tell you which one to pick. Because it says a plus right there, that means you're going to pick same signs, both plus. If you pick negative, 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 you'll still get this, but this will end up being a minus. If you don't remember that, just guess and check it with FOIL before you move on. Next step in our procedure, list all the factors of 12. Try to list them in order from least to greatest. Now, think about FOIL. When you do your outers and you do your inners, because they're both positive, that means you would have like a 5x and a 10x. You would add them to get to the middle term because they're both pluses. So which two factors do you add together, which two, to get back to 7x? 3 and the 4. So those are the two that you're going to use. These guys will not work. So does it matter where I put the 3 and the 4? It doesn't in this case because this is the same as this. So I can put the 3 here or the 4 here, and it should check. How am I going to check this? I'm going to check it using FOIL. Before I circle my answer, let's check it. So FOIL tells me to do, first, x times x. Outers, 4x. Inners, 3x. Last, 12. Combine your like terms, which are your outers and inners, and you get x squared plus 7x plus 12. Is this the same as the original problem? Yep, so this is my answer. Don't circle your check, circle your answer. Okay, you guys try this one by yourself. Put me on pause. Remember, you can always check it by foiling it, and if you make a mistake, you can erase it and switch signs or switch numbers. The leading coefficient is a 1, so all of our procedures should work easily. There is no GCF, so let's go ahead and do regular factoring. What times what is the first term? Go to the last term. It's a plus. What times what is a plus? Same signs or different signs? Same signs. So we're either going to have plus plus or minus minus. This guy right here tells you it's got to be the minus minus. Okay, the middle term tells us a lot. List all the factors of the last term. Try to make sure you hit all of them, because if you miss one of them, there is a possibility that the one you're forgetting is the one you actually need. All right, because your signs are the same, your outers will be a negative, your inners will be a negative in FOIL. That means they're both negative, you're going to add them together. Which two do you add to get back to the middle term? The 6 and the 7. Okay, so now where do I put them? It doesn't matter in this case. Because this is the same as this, it doesn't matter. If they were different, it would matter. Let's go ahead and make sure we check by using FOIL. First, outers, inners, and last. Combining your like terms, we get r squared minus 13r plus 42. Is that the original problem? Yep, so that's my answer. All right, let's go ahead and try this one. Try putting me on pause, guys. Do it yourself and then resume. All right, the leading coefficient's 1. That's awesome. There is no GCF, so open up your double set of parentheses. What times what is the first term? P times P. Go to the last term. It's a negative. So what times what is a negative? Same signs or different signs? Different signs. A positive times a negative will get me to a negative. So we need one of each sign. Does it matter where I put them? No, not at this point. List all the factors of 40. Okay, now this is a little trickier than the last two we've done. Because your outers are going to be negative and your inners are going to be positive, it'd be like saying a 10x and a negative 2x. When you combine a positive with a negative, you will subtract them to get to the middle term. So which do you subtract to get to the middle term? The 8 and the 5. Now, does it matter where I put them? Yes, it does, because this is different than this. So if you read the method you just wrote down and you remember it, the larger of the factors goes with the middle of the term, middle sign of the middle term. So 8 must go with the positive. If you forget that rule, don't worry about it. Just guess, put the 8, the 5, or the 5 and the 8, foil it, and check to see if it actually works out. If it's wrong, then switch them and check it again. First, outers, inners, and last. Combining your like terms, comes back to the original problem. We know we're right. All right, this one's a little bit trickier because it's got variables. Don't sweat it. There is no GCF. What times what is the first term? Go to the last term. This is a little weird. B squared. What times what is B squared? B. B. Positive, that would be the same signs. We got to pick the plus plus because of the middle term. Now list the factors of 32. Which two add add together the same signs to get back to 12. Doesn't matter where you put them because everything else is the same. How does the AB come into this? Well, let's check with FOIL. First, outers, 8B times A would be 8BA, or I could write it, instead of BA, I could write it as AB. Inners would be 4B times A would be 4AB. I'll put it in the same order. Last would be 4B times B, or excuse me, 4B times 8B would be 32. B times B is B squared. Adding your like terms together, we get 12AB plus 32B squared. All right, I believe we have one more to do. Here it is. The area of a rectangle is given by area x squared minus 2x minus 35. Remember, rectangles have an area by finding the length by the width. So they want to know what are the possible dimensions of this, and they give you a hint. Factor it. Put me on pause and try this by yourself and then hit resume, please. No GCF. X times x gives me the first term. It's a negative, so you need different signs. And factors of 35 are 135, 5, and 7. Because these are different, that means you're going to subtract your outers and inners when you combine like terms in FOIL. Which two do you subtract to get to the middle term? The 5 and the 7. The larger always goes with the sign of the middle term. If you can't remember, then go ahead and guess. Then make sure you check with FOIL. Okay? We can therefore say that the width could be x plus 5, and the length could be x minus 7. Or vice versa. It doesn't matter which one you call length or width. And that would take care of section 8.5.